right, guys. So, this is a very exciting day indeed. The gameplay you just saw there is one of my old favorite, to be fair, PvP builds that I thought disappeared when the Void was reworked. But it turns out they just changed it a little bit. And it was kind of hiding in plain sight. So this is the old classic Void Warlock Contraverse Hold Handheld Supernova build. And you will notice that that does not show up anywhere in the Warlock abilities anymore, but it still functions in the exact same way. Contraverse holds, charge, release, and then you throw the short range blast that just decimates. So that's what this is. Not a huge range, but that basically functions exactly how the old handheld Supernova used to work. This was one of my go-to PvP loadouts in the Crucible. You would, be playing capture the point. The whole team's holding the point. You come running in, jump in the air, charge, release, squad wipe. It was gnarly. I have yet to test this back out in a PvP, but my guess is that it would still work effectively the exact same way. I mean, just whoosh, wipe, wipe, wipe. And the beauty of Contraverse Holds is, of course, how quickly we get all of this juicy, juicy, juicy energy back to keep throwing our charged grenades. That's the core to this build. And yeah, there's a little bit of an RNG element to it because it does throw back varying amounts of energy, but we've got other things in this build that can help us continue to throw and throw and throw. So that was the gameplay you just saw. Let's back out of here, let these guys have their fun, and we'll go over the build. This is yet another Void Warlock build that centers around the Contraverse Hold exotic Warlock Gauntlet. It is a very, very good Warlock exotic. I would say that this is another of the god tier exotics. Frankly, the Warlocks just have better gear than the other character types. They just do. The perks are better. There's more of them that are just god tier pieces of equipment. This is another. So for refresher, if you didn't see my last video from a few weeks ago that was 2 powerful Void builds in a single video, this is a key to one, but it's a completely different setup we're doing this time. This is reviving the old handheld Supernova build. It's just not called that anymore. So the key, the Contraverse Hold. This is the main piece around which we're building this build. Chaotic Exchanger. Resist incoming damage while you're charging your Void Grenade. That's any of the grenade subclass types. And then charged Void Grenades return grenade energy on a hit. That is the key to what makes this such a powerful exotic, because you're pretty much always going to land a hit, and you get a boatload of energy back on top of us already throwing different perks in to make it come back quicker. So we will get to the mods in a minute. Let's jump into the actual loadout itself. Abilities, I've got the Healing Rift, I've got the Burst Glide, I've got the Pocket Singularity, of course, because that's what we have. And then for this grenade, it is the Magnetic Grenade. I know it sounds counterintuitive because this is a sticky grenade, but the aspects are what changes this effectively into the upgraded new Void 3.0 Handheld Supernova. And that's going to be the Chaos Accelerant. So if we hold the left bumper, the grenade charge, it will overcharge our grenade, makes it deadlier and more effective. Then the very bottom of the list, the magnetic grenade says releases a short-range void blast. Well, that is effectively what the handheld Supernova was. So hiding here in plain sight this whole time since the rework, we've had access to handheld Supernova if we just bothered to pay attention and actually read it, and that is a glorious thing. Now, for the second aspect, I have used both. It really is kind of a preferential thing. I have Feed the Void because when we defeat a target that has a void ability of any kind, which we're going to constantly be doing, it's going to give us Devour. And when Devour is active, Final Blows restore health and extend Devour. So we're basically giving ourselves the ability to constantly heal as we're running around playing with this super fun build. The alternative is, of course, Child of the Old Gods. This is a viable option as well. Cast your Rift, create the Void Soul. When you damage a target with your weapon, the Void Soul will fly and drain and weaken them. And that will also give you back grenade and melee energy if you're using the Healing Rift. So this can also do the same thing. I just think that I do kind of prefer it with the Feed the Void because Devour is a really strong ability. It just is. And you can keep that up longer and going longer. So that is the base aspect setup and ability setup. Let's get into the fragments. And here you have a little leeway, but the first two are going to be key. The first one is Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. It also gives us a nice plus 10 to strength. Volatile is one of the strongest void abilities in the game. So yes, I do have a nice void weapon that I selected. It honestly doesn't matter whatever your favorite is. It could be a void exotic. It could be just any type of void weapon that's your preference. It doesn't matter. But you're going to want this one because when you're not using your charged grenade for the, let's call it Handheld Supernova 3.0, you're going to be using your Void weapon because that's where all the perks are related to this build. So, Vault rounds will pierce shields, bury your champions, and stun them. And it also makes them explode upon taking additional damage once they become volatile. So you have this nice explosion for bigger AoE damage to other enemies in the area. It's just very powerful. The second fragment is Echo of Undermining. Our Void Grenades weaken targets. Since we're going to constantly be charging for our blast, it counts as a grenade kill, and weaken makes them take increased damage. They are slower and they have a harder time firing their weapons, which means they're going to be landing damage on you with a lot less accuracy. Then the final one here, I have Echo of Expulsion. There's another one that I also like in here, and it'll be obvious, but this is kind of what I settled on. Void ability Final Blows cause targets to explode. So this synergizes in with this, and then it gives us a nice plus 10 intellect for this super OP, powerful super that we can pull out whenever it procs. The last possible fragment that I would recommend, there's a few. Damaging targets with grenades grants melee energy. Sure, you could do that. That's not bad. And then over here, melee Final Blows grant grenade energy. Echo of Exchange. This was one that I also played around with. Both of these are nice, but I think just being able to chain the bigger damage stuff in, since we're already going to be having our energy back so quickly, this is my recommendation. But honestly, this final perk, whatever other perk that you like in particular, you can do it. This is obviously plenty of options down here that are good, strong perks, but this is my loadout. Instability, Undermining, and Expulsion, with the possibility, if you wanted to, Provision or Exchange. Also, probably two very good second or third kind of place options. So that is our setup. Now, for me, I decided to keep this new Deterministic Chaos Void Machine Gun. It's really powerful, and make that my exotic slot. I don't often run exotic heavy weapons, but this is a really good one. For me, I have this Fioritura 59 that I just built up. This is nice. It's got a big mag. It's a rapid fire archetype. Has a reasonably decent reload speed, and it's got some nice perks on it. Obviously, Void subclass. One of them here, reloading, gives us bonus handling, reduces flinch. That's always nice to have. This one right here in particular, Repulsor Brace. Defeating a Void debuff target grants an overshield. Well, we're constantly throwing out Void debuffs, so we're constantly getting overshields, which is nice. Pugilist is also great. Final Blows will generate melee energy, and dealing melee energy will briefly improve the handling of this weapon. They also got a nice roll with armor piercing and a chambered compensator, and we've got us a nice, whoops, I need to finish this off. Stability Masterwork. And then the increased mag. So that's what I'm running. And then I have my Masterwork Hung Jury as my backup if I need to get for some longer range enemies in the background. But that's the build, guys. And yeah, I got to test this out, and I am pleasantly surprised. I thought that this build was gone forever. It was one of my absolute favorites. When I eventually get into some PvP builds, kind of show you tips and tricks for any guys that maybe you're not really big PvP players, there's a lot of really fun builds. A lot of the PvE builds will work in a PvP environment, but in general, I do think it's best to have different loadouts. Definitely, I would change out my weapons. I would change out exotics. I would probably change out mods and perks, just because the PvP experience is quite a bit different. You know, there's only X amount of targets, so things that are incumbent on enemy volume to get abilities back up quicker definitely don't work as well in a PvP environment. So what you're really looking for is something that's got a really strong weapon base. But this build right here is one that absolutely would work because of its energy refilling capability. So I expect that this is going to be another very powerful build to throw into PvP yet again, and I absolutely love it, guys. That is the build. If you've never tried this one out back in the day, if you've never played Destiny before they did the rework and never got to see the original Handheld Supernova, yeah, I mean, it was just ridiculous. The stats you could post in the PvP lobbies, it was almost as bad as the old Hunter Shatter Dive when Stasis first dropped. Like, people groaned when they saw that, oh, here's a Warlock running Contraverse and they're going to Handheld Supernova us all. Yeah, it is that good, and it looks like it might be moving up to the top of the possible picks yet again. Regardless, guys, I hope you enjoy this. I hope you take something away from this. Definitely try this build out. It's one of my all-time favorites. I am so happy it is back. This is a really fun one. It works great in PvE, and we will get some showcase gameplay in PvP as well, and get some tips and tricks coming down the pipeline for PvP builds. Guys, as always, I appreciate you checking in. We will catch you on the next one.